and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stover. Nigeria is rapidly expanding its agricultural ties with BRICS nations to establish itself as Africa's premier agribusiness hub. Key foreign direct investment focuses on special agro-processing zones, fertilizer production, and climate-smart seed technologies. Now, this strategic partnership leverages Nigeria's vast arable land and access to the African Continental Free Trade Area. Key initiatives and engagements driving this growth include Brazil collaboration. That's Nigeria and Brazil signed a memorandum of understanding projected to generate $4.3 billion in private sector investment, specifically targeting soybean, cassava, and agroforestry value chains. Additionally, Nigeria partnered with the Brazilian Agricultural Research Institute for capacity building and genetic resource exchange. Tonight, NTA Tuesday Live will focus on the topic global agricultural investments in Nigeria. But before we go into the conversation, let's get to see this report put together by correspondent Musa Baba Aliu.
I'm now pleased to hand the floor to the chairperson as I'm advised that quorum has been reached.
This was in February 2026 during the 49th session of the International Fund for Agricultural Development IFAD Governing Council meeting in Rome, Italy.
The People's Republic of China.
Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, was elected chairperson of the IFAD Governing Council for a 2-year term. The election was conducted by delegates from approximately 120 member countries. This outcome reflects international recognition of Nigeria's commitment to advancing national food security and its strong partnership with the United Nations in promoting the global food system agenda. Nigeria also participated actively in the recent concluded BRICS Agriculture Ministers Conference in Indore, India. Abubakar Kyari presented Nigeria's dedication to strengthen global partnership aimed at ending hunger and malnutrition. Prior to that, the minister, accompanied by the managing director of the Bank of Agriculture and the Ghana State Governor, attended the Africa Rice Conference in Accra, Ghana. In February 2026, the United Nations Development Programme and the Bank of Agriculture signed a strategic memorandum of understanding to accelerate Nigeria's agricultural transformation. Similarly, a landmark partnership has kicked off with the delivery of 2,000 Belarusian tractors assembled locally in Abuja as part of a multi-billion naira agricultural mechanization program designed to modernize farming and strengthen the country's food security. The initiative, formally sealed in late 2024, marks a significant step in effort to transform Nigeria's agricultural sector through advanced machinery and technology transfer. In May 2025, Nigeria signed a $158 million agreement for the Value Chain Program in northern Nigeria, co-financed by the French Development Agency and the Nigerian government. Other ongoing or recent projects contributing to the portfolio include the Special Agro-Processing Zones and the Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprise project in the Niger Delta. Additionally, the World Bank approved $500 million in concessional financing for the Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project scale-up. The Nigerian government will contribute an additional $100 million. The program aims to enhance sustainability in the rural road sector by supporting states in establishing and operationalizing state road funds and state rural access roads agency. To this end, agricultural economists have applauded President Bola Tinubu for sustaining robust diplomatic relations with international development partners and demonstrating strong confidence in his ministerial team. They specifically praised the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, and Dr. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi for their strategic roles in advancing the agricultural sector. The question, however, they are asking are how does the government plan to ensure that these investments deliver tangible impact on ordinary farmers? What mechanisms are in place to prevent or address project abandonment? And how the states are being carried along or actively involved in these initiatives?
Right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's go ahead and introduce our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari. Minister, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Cyril.
Right. We're joined tonight. We're joined tonight by Aminu Bodinga. He's the National Coordinator, Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, RAM. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Samuel Negedu, former president of the Fertilizer Producers Association. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. And joining us in this conversation is the country representative of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, Dede Aguefa. He joins us via Zoom from Rome. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. All right. So, as is the nature of this program, at the appropriate time you can join in the conversation. But when it's that time, we'll remind you of the process and the procedure. For now, let's get down to the business of the day, which has to do with global agricultural investments. And this will be looking at partnerships with the BRICS nations and IFAD. So let's turn to the minister as we kick off this conversation. And a good way to start is to look at the achievements, if any, recorded through partnerships with IFAD, the World Bank, FAO, and of course the BRICS nations on food security.
And don't forget the African Development Bank as well.
Right, yes, the ADB as well.
Yes,
right.
Thank you, Cyril. Well, let me just go down memory lane for about two years ago, when we first had engagement with the international bodies, especially the International Fund for Agricultural Development, and also the Food and Agriculture Organization, both of which are situated in Rome, including also with the World Food Program. They're all United Nations food agencies, and they're all situated in Rome, Italy. So we had the World Food Forum in I believe in October 2023. That was the first engagement. And then IFAD was in February 2024. And subsequently, yearly, they have the annual meetings and the forum. IFAD being the largest fund interventionist in agricultural development in the world, being the United Nations. And also they have a lot of investors in their portfolio. I was elected the vice chairman of IFAD Governing Council in 2025.
Right.
So I was there for 1 year, and then next year, by general acclaim, I was also elected as the chairman of the Governing Council. Right. Now, let me just say that was not as a result of me in person. It was as a result of the achievements under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that we have achieved between 2024 and 2025 season. You could recall that Mr. President declared emergency on food security in July 2023, shortly after he was sworn in. And there were a lot of steps and mandates and orders that were given to both myself and the Minister of State and all the sectors that involve in food security, whether it's water resources, environment, Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, to make sure that we deliver that mandate according to the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. And we swung into action. We made sure that we have all year round farming. This is what we have been trying to encourage our farmers to do. Fertilizer inputs were given, some are subsidized price, some are even free. For instance, we had 2,150,000 bags in 2024 that was given out free of charge to farmers across the nation. So there was a lot of achievements, and of course you will agree with me that all of a sudden we had availability of food and prices had stabilized, And throughout 2025, prices have continued to stabilize, amongst other mechanisms. But what I may chip in here is our relationship with the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Through my position, we were able to, for instance, before then we had Value Chain Development Program, VCDP, that impacts on 8 states across the north, north-central, south, and some parts of south-south. And then we have also from IFAD itself, the Life ND, which is the Life Living Improvement Family Enterprise, Life of the Niger Delta. And then we also they have also part of the SAPZ, which is the Special Agro-Processing Zone of the spearhead funder of the SAPZ is the African Development Bank, which was they invested over $500 million for the first phase, which included 8 states and the FCT. And IFAD now has also contributed $100 million to the SAPZ. Then also Islamic Development Bank has also keyed into that program. So as a result of what was going on, we had 3 main issues that happened within the last 1.5 years. One is the extension of the wonderful program of the VCTP, which is the Value Chain Development Program. It was extended by 2 years. And normally it's difficult for you to get such extension, but once your program has shown success and improvement in implementation, they'll be happy to do it because they know that is where they can invest more and get more results. Then the other one is the additional financing for the Life ND. Additional $32 million was increased for the Life ND program, and also there's a new program, the VCN, the Value Chain Northern Nigeria, that seeks to impact on the 9 Sahelian states of the north, on the ones that are bordering the Sahelian, and that is an $158 million program. As we speak now, we are also intending to extend, because the VCDB was extended till December 2026. And just in Kenya recently, when we had the Africa Forward Summit, that's the France and Africa, when we accompanied Mr. President, I had on the side, I had a meeting with the president of IFAD and to look into extending the VCTB for another 6 months from December to June 2027. So by and large, I think we've been able to leverage on our relationship, leverage on the fantastic directive that Mr. President had shown in terms of leadership in the agricultural sector.
Okay. It's quite a lot. And
yes.
As we go on, we'll look at them maybe in greater detail. But let's hear from the National Coordinator of Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, RAM. From your perspective, how do you see all of this impacting food production?
Particularly, Cyril, the projects we are working on with the able leadership of the Mr. President, the ministry is focusing on improving the livelihood of people living in the rural areas by providing one critical infrastructure, which is road. So far, the project has covered 19 participating states, and because of the confidence the development partners have on the project, we are getting more funding, more support from them in terms of expansion of the project activities to cover 36 states and the FCT. So far, we have 19 states, and the focus is to improve the rural road infrastructure. So far, the project has awarded over 4,000 kilometers of rural roads, out of which about 1,500 have been completed so far. So both the technical and financial support we are receiving from the development partners like World Bank, French Development Agency make tremendous support in terms of the focus of government in achieving food security. It's only when you have access that you can bring the food closer to the communities, equally to the processing centers, to market, with a view to, in terms of reduction in post-harvest losses, also providing storage facilities just to reduce the loss farmers incurred as a result of bad roads. So far, so good. Besides that, we recently have Islamic Development Bank and European Investment Bank showing interest in supporting this project. The European Investment Bank have so far provided 150 million US dollars to support additional 5 states. We equally have Islamic Development coming with 250 million US dollars, while World Bank is providing 500 million US dollars. Coupled with the support of the government of Nigeria with 100 million US dollars, we are guaranteed of opening more rural areas and equally improving the partnership between the government of Nigeria and the development partners. The confidence is there, and the enthusiasm shown by state governors in terms of keying into the project is quite overwhelming. So far so good. The project is also looking forward in terms of employment generation by providing engaging communities living across the road corridors to provide routine maintenance. The project is also supporting improvement of markets, agricultural market precisely. So far, about 39 agricultural markets are under construction under the project. And we are hoping before the end of this year, all this market will be improved in terms of the road infrastructure within the market, storage facilities, electricity, and equally support SMEs to improve their trading activities. So another important thing to note here when it comes to the support we are receiving from international development partners has to do with the fact that the money they are bringing in is actually making the project constructing climate resilient roads and equally providing farmers with the necessary support in terms of increase in agricultural production. So all these are geared towards supporting the initiative of government in terms of food security. Most of the farmers that produce food in this country are living in these rural areas, and most of them does not have access to market, does not have access to processing centers, does not have access to the consumers. So, and that is where this project is playing an important role in supporting government in terms of food security. We are looking forward to getting more development partners coming into this country to support the project. Recently, we had discussion with Asia Infrastructure Development Bank expressing their interest looking at the achievement recorded so far under the project to provide additional financing that will support the initiative of government in terms of attainment of security in the country. So the ministry is actually focusing in this particular area, and the income so far we have started seeing the farmers is improving. The initial target of this project is to reach out to 8.2 million communities, but so far we have reached out to 15.2 million communities. That is people living within 2 kilometers of an access road. And that is what this project has.
It's almost double the initial projection.
Double the initial projection. And that is what this project has so far achieved. And we have over 521 communities that we are sponsoring to provide routine maintenance in terms of the system of convert. And it's another way of telling these are your roads, please protect these roads. So the routine maintenance, or maintenance generally, which has been a challenge to roads all over the world, we have put in that mechanism. Another important thing I also want to register here has to do with the ministry focus on strengthening states in terms of, we don't want to construct this road and leave these roads unattended to. So far, the ministry has supported the establishment and creation of 55 bills for establishment of state road funds and equally rural access road agency. This rural access road agency will be responsible for maintaining this road even after the exit of the development partners. This is the sustainability mechanism that has been put into place. And we are not expecting this agency to depend on budgetary provision. That is the essence of creating the state road fund. So this was achieved by the ministry. So far, I think one of the largest bills that have been processed within 1 year in Africa.
Thanks so much. We'll return to that. But as we move on, first we must make a correction in our introductions. I think it has to do with Mr. Negedu, right? I believe Gideon. Gideon. And your Executive Secretary of FEPSA. That's the Fertilizer
Producers, Suppliers and Association of Nigeria.
Okay, thanks. Yes. Right. Great to have you with us, Mr. Gideon Negedu.
Yes.
And so, we've heard both the Minister and the National Coordinator of RAMP speak on the far-reaching impact of these partnerships and what's on ground. Let's hear from your perspective.
So thank you again for the correction. I would have been a bit wobbly in trying to get into the assigned role. But so in terms of the conversations around the global investments, that has been made in agriculture, we are that arm in Nigeria making that investment because the space has been made very conducive. In the last couple of years, under Mr. President's support, and of course with the support of the Minister of Agriculture, we have continued to have what's called the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, where we source raw materials and strengthen local blending production plants to be able to make sure that all the good work that is being done by the Minister and his team, we are able to make sure that we are positioned to provide not just quantitative fertilizers, but also qualitative fertilizers. We have had a mandate from the Minister specifically to do crop and area-specific fertilizers. It's interesting to note that as an investing public, when we sat down with the Minister, he was very, very technical in the specific kind of elements or nutrients that we are supposed to put in there.
I like that. Crop specific and
soil
specific. Soil specific.
Fertilizers.
As against just, all right, well, just go ahead. There are certain issues which we would raise about those as well. And it's a good thing you talked about both quantity and quality.
Yes.
All right.
So it's good to have that. It's good to have a regulator that has a depth understanding of what the farming community needs, because what happens in the past is that you have a generic blend of fertilizers that come into the space. You can't go into partnerships like this and hold your head high that you do a single straight blend of 15-15. They want to know that you are very intentional, you are very granular about what your farmers will need. The fertilizer, the nutrient requirements in the northern part of Nigeria is clearly not the same as what is needed in the south. So you have to set up the infrastructure that will be able to get the crop-specific and the area-specific fertilizers to farmers for them to be able to get the benefit or the yields that this partnership is poised to be able to produce. And what we've done in our community, the investing space, is that we have watched and seen that there's a lot of confidence building that has been done in that space, and we have invested heavily as far as blending infrastructure is concerned. The infrastructure invested in this space is not government. It's our private investment. We don't put those monies if we don't have confidence in the kind of direction in which government is playing. And so we are very proud and very excited that our partnership with the government and through the Minister is using the kind of fruit that has led to some of these partnerships that we are seeing. And so we are very intentional to continue to up our investments to make sure that farmers are getting the right quality of fertilizers at the right time. Now, any farmer will tell you that farming is a package. It's not just one single nutrient or single line that will give you the kind of yield that you're looking at. RAMP has spoken about access to feeder access roads to the farm gate to be able to bring those produce out. Mr. President had a lot of concern when it came about the support farmers were getting and the high cost of food in the market.
All right.
The missing link was that what you call the middleman who braves and goes to the farmers to be able to get the food out. So access to road, all right, reduces that risk because the farmer is able to get his product and get good pricing for it so that we can have a fairly reasonable pricing in the market. So for us, as a private investing community, our confidence is buoyed to continue to keep investing in the space. And I'm sure with time we'll be able to tell you what we have done in terms of the numbers, even with the Iran-US crisis, which Mr. President was proactive enough to, as if they had a crystal ball, to be able to get us to import on time the massive quantities of fertilizers that we're able to do.
Certainly these issues we'll examine in greater detail, particularly the matter of pricing, and just as you've said now, there used to be a missing link. Last week we spoke on a topic that's similar to this. It had to do with food security, and some of the things we got from some of the farmers who called in was to say that access to fertilizer was a bit difficult. And also we talk about the rural access roads to get to the farm gate and challenges from farm gate to the centers. But that also we'll return to, but I believe we are now joined by another of our contributors to this program, Dr. Saifulahi Umar, who is Director General, Jigawa Agricultural Transformation. He joins us via Zoom from Dutse. Good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Good evening, Cyrus. Good evening, Madam Minister.
All right. Thanks. So let's hear your input. You are the DG of the Jigawa Agricultural Transformation. And all of what we're talking about tonight stems from the very fact of transforming the agricultural space in Nigeria, and that's why we're looking at investments, global investments. But in such a discussion, the subnationals are also key to the overall goal of improved production, affordability, and quality production of food. So let's hear from your perspective.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Nigerians. I'm pleased to be on these very important discussions about the global investment on food security, and particularly what the subnationals are doing to help Nigeria achieve self-sufficiency in food security. So from our perspective, first thing is alignment with the federal governments in terms of the renewed hope food security agenda, which the Jigawa state government has an agenda, a 12-point agenda, which also relates back to our own agricultural policy anchored on the pillar of food and nutrition security. So as a government, we focus basically to ensure transformations happens and align strategically to the national food security objectives of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The government here in Jigawa also focus on principally increasing local productivity, and this local productions targets drivers or enablers of productions, which will, of course, substantially increase available food surpluses from farming households. So notably, we started looking at what are the pain points of the smallholder farmers, who are largely the major actors here in Jigawa. More than 90% of the state is agricultural-oriented economic activities. So the state invested in reforms such as the extension system strengthening, whereby the idea here is to increase impactable knowledge among the smallholder farmers, and by investing in increasing the number of extension agents from barely 200 to over 1,700 extension agents equipped with critical resources, including mobility, means of liability to also capacity building for the extension agents. Similarly, we also realized that production using traditional means of productions, cutlass and hose is no longer sustainable. And then the Lagos State government invested massively in mechanizations. As we speak, that also aligns with the federal government mechanizations programs. We have established a palm mechanization service company with a fleet of over 300 tractors deployed across the states with 60 service mechanization service centers. Similarly, as enabler of productivity, the government is increasing access to critical resources like seed. The seed system is one of the fundamental pillars contributing over 35% of productivity. In collaborations with our pledging partnerships, including federal governments, the Lagos State government has increased substantial quantity of principally wheat seed, rice seeds, and sorghum seed and millet, as well as the maize seed to farmers. We have, distributed over 100,000, reached over 100,000 farmers with certified seed across the states. And this is only the state initiative, apart from what the federal government has supported. In 2024, in particular, federal government supported massively to scale wheat production in the Lagos State from barely 10,000 hectares to over 55,000 hectares, which contributed to over 100 metric tons of wheat, saving Nigeria significantly in terms of the foreign exchange to import wheat. Similarly, we are also investing in agro-industrial clusters, whereby the state is establishing, because of, one of the fundamental challenges apart production, after increasing productions, what comes is the post-harvest losses, because in Nigeria, we have significant proportion of post-harvest losses experienced by farmers, amounting to over 40% of what has been produced. And that leads to the state establishing agro-industrial clusters, whereby there would be, in these clusters, there is a warehousing system, where primary cleaning of the agro-produce being produced. So in essence, we are investing in enablers of productions, and also that helps to trigger the needed productivity to ensure that Nigeria achieves food self-sufficiency in food security.
Thank you so very much. Good to hear that all this is taking place at the sub-national level. As we go on, there are other matters as well we'll raise regarding the farming population in Jigawa State. But in addition to our conversations in the studio, we also have a number of reports. Let's start off by saying this one from Kanu.
Nigeria is blessed with vast arable land, abundant water resources, and a large population engaged in agriculture. Yet, despite this enormous potential, the country continues to grapple with food shortages, rising food prices, post-harvest losses, and a heavy dependence on food imports. However, across the country, interventions by international organizations are supporting farmers with improved technologies, irrigation, training, and access to markets, while also creating opportunities for agribusiness growth and increased incomes. But questions remain about the impact of these investments and what more is needed to ensure sustainable food security for millions of Nigerians.
These interventions come to us around 1994. We have benefited a lot from such interventions, because with this type of interventions, our farmers now are self-reliant.
These interventions are helping us, especially in irrigation farming and access to improved seedlings.
While beneficiaries acknowledge improvements in productivity and access to modern farming techniques, experts note that the long-term success of such investments depends on sustainability, local ownership, and reaching more smallholder farmers.
Farmers have been trained in a new method of farming. Initially, 1 acre of land, they normally the yield is just 20 paddy bags of rice. But with this intervention, it has become to between 30 to 35 bags of paddy rice per acre.
We support farmers to approach farming as a business, to transit from conventional farming practice to a market-oriented practice.
Stakeholders stress that beyond financial investment, strengthening irrigation system, expanding agricultural extension service, and improving access to markets remain critical to achieving lasting food security and reducing dependence on food imports.
All right, from Kano, we move on to Enugu for another of our reports.
The interventions coordinated by the Enugu State Agricultural Development Program, ADP, focuses on boosting agribusiness value chains, modernizing farming practices, and supporting smallholder farmers with climate-resilient techniques. Under the federal government's Renewed Hope agenda, Enugu State has received support from China, a brisk country in modern mechanization.
Talk about the rice milling machines, talk about rice destoning machines, talk about rice packaging machines for processing of this. Talk about other heavy equipment. My governor, Basapitampa, brought in 2,000 tractors that was coupled and brought in. It must come from any of these BRIC countries.
The State Minister of Agriculture said the partnership aligns with federal government's plan to move from subsistence to mechanized farming using tractors and harvesters instead of hoes and cutlasses to assist farmers in the rural areas.
Our Farm Estate Projects program is also a veritable opportunity and environment for us to tailor down our interventions to farmers and also get the desired result.
International organizations are also active. International Fund for Agricultural Development's Value Chain Development Program is funding smallholders farmers in Enugu East, Aneri, Ogo, among others, with credit-improved seedlings, food processing through mechanized agriculture and efficient training of rural farmers on climate-smart agriculture to sustain food security in the state. Furthermore, another key federal government World Bank intervention in Enugu State targets low-lying food plain areas for dry season farming. Under FADAMA, farmers in some rural communities in the state have accessed solar pumps and trade-out pumps to cultivate rice, vegetables, and cassava year-round with the assistance of BRICS countries like Brazil and China. Data from Enugu Agricultural Development Program shows that a good number of farmers who were empowered in Enugu through support facilities say the agricultural interventions have transformed their lives for better.
All this while we have been suffering about how you can bring out your farm product.
I received a water pump machine.
All right, back here in the studio, two of those reports highlighting many angles of the same subject. Minister, two things we're very interested in. One, the value chain project, and secondly, with the sectors and crops, particularly, that are likely, to gain more from these partnerships if we're looking at the short and long term, 3 years, 5 years.
Well, you could see the successes of mostly all the interventions. And just recently, we discussed with the World Bank when there's the agro project that is coming up. That is about $500 million. Is yet to be signed. But part of there's one concept that is called the AgriConnect, which seeks to connect what RAMP is doing, what all other projects are doing. SAPZ, for instance. Now, SAPZ is provision of, the special agro processing zone, zones that will be situated in peri-urban areas, not in urban areas, but in peri-urban areas, to stop, the rural-urban migration, where it seeks to do production of crops, aggregation, storage, processing. We need to add value to what we're doing, to what we're producing. And so where RAMP comes in is to provide access, and access for the farmer to the market. And where government will also provide infrastructure for the processing zone. And thereby it makes it easier for the farmer to take his goods to the market. And then we connect all the other projects. Value Chain Development Program, for instance, will also be part and parcel of all that linkages that we need to link up so that we cut down on all the issues that they raise, because we have the climate change issues, post-harvest losses, and infrastructure, road, and issues, so on and so forth. So we are looking at a program where that's why we also sought for extension of some of the programs so that others will also catch up. What we have done so far, I can guarantee you from the feelers that we've been getting, any 3 years of any agricultural intervention has so far seen support and political will than this past 3 years. So we're also looking at the future. We're looking at food sovereignty. That's what Mr. President has mandated us to do. What does food sovereignty mean? The right of the citizen to food. Not only to food, but affordable food, has accessibility of food, nutritious food, and consumption of various type of diets. So, we have challenges in terms of nutrition at the same time. And this is what we're doing, even in the ministry, in our research centers. Recently, we just launched Faro 71, Faro 72 rice, which is zinc fortified rice. Instead of adding nutrients, this will be in the seed itself. And the zinc from Faro rice provides at least 40% of your daily requirement of zinc. So you see, we're coming up in a way that will biofortify the plants and the crops so that we don't have to be adding. This one will be automatic. By the time you buy Faro 71 rice and 72, it's already fortified with zinc. So we're looking at the long term. There's multi-sectoral initiative also. The Nutrition Council is there, which is chaired by His Excellency the Vice President. There's also the Nutrition 774, which takes into consideration of all 774 local governments. And multi-sectoral, like I said, Ministry of Health is there, Water Resources is there, Environment is there, Power is there, Trade and Industry is there, Agriculture is there. So with that kind of collaboration, we are hopeful that we're going to achieve all the goals that we set out to achieve within a short period of time.
Tied to this is the matter of capacity building and extension services. So if you have a farming population that is not adept at these, especially when now you talk about climate smart agriculture, the farming population still has a lot to learn towards that. So what's it?
Well, we are also looking at train the trainers. We have done that recently, where we trained collectively. We trained in Zaria extension workers from states that they will in turn go back to their states and also train their own extension workers. And we are also encouraging states. We've just heard Jigawa State that had employed recently 1,700 extension workers, and they provided motorcycles and equipment and financing for them to do their jobs right. If you remember, in those days, we had extension workers in the rural areas. They come second after the headmaster of the primary school of that rural area. Today, we are lacking behind, and we're encouraging a lot of states. And some of these programs that we have, like the ones that we have signed with Brazil, which is the GIP, Mr. President was also at the G20 of 2024, seeks to also cover such things in terms of extension, in terms of mechanization, seed research. We have recently, Mr. President had approved funding to the National Agricultural Seed Council for extension to seed producing companies to do a lot of research in such a way that is public supported, but is mostly private driven. I would like to also mention what our Executive Secretary of FEPSAN had said on the issue of fertilizer. The only item of fertilizer that we have in country is urea, which is produced by Indorama and Dangote Fertilizer. NPK, which is the major fertilizer that we use in Nigeria, has 3 other components that have to be imported that we don't have in commercial quantities in Nigeria, which is phosphate, potash, and granular ammonium sulfate, which is gas. So, and that is being driven by like a public-private partnership. Now even the importation of these have been liberalized by Mr. President. We have seen Morphy doing that. We have seen the NSIA doing that, and we have also seen Bank of Agriculture and the National Agricultural Development Fund participate in importation of these valuable commodities from outside and then sell, or rather hand over to FEPSAN for production and to the market. So gone are the days when fertilizer will be distributed and abused, if I may say so, in terms of reaching the actual farmer, the intended farmer, which I call the first mile, not the last mile, which in fact that is the IFAD language, that the farmer, the rural farmer is the first mile. That is where impact and intervention should begin. So because those are the engines of production, and that those, if you don't have that as a good foundation, then everything else would go down the drain in terms of good seed, in terms of good fertilizer, in terms of extension service and advisory, in terms of good inputs, whether it's fertilizer or agrochemicals, must be top-notch. And so we are, as ministry, we regulate these things under the Farm Input Support Services Department.
Well, let's take a little bit more on the matter of the road infrastructure in the rural areas. As I said, we held a discussion here last week, and this was a major issue from the farm gate to the markets. And RAMP, how much has RAMP achieved in all of this under these partnerships?
Okay. RAMP has so far achieved. I think the project started with only 2 states. We had Kaduna and Cross River State, where the project was initially piloted, and over 1,000 kilometers and about 70 number culverts and bridges were constructed in these 2 states. So the successes recorded in these 2 states paved way for the expansion of the project activities. We now have additional 4 states, including Adamawa, Enugu, Niger, and Osun under the second phase of the project. And we implemented that project successfully with additional over 2,500 kilometers constructed with 120 river crossing. The river crossing here is there. We have 2 communities that were separated because of a river. So what the project did is to provide that particular structure there so that these people can have access. I visited one of the, in Osun State particularly, we have communities, they put rope on a canoe from the one end to another. While people are here, you put in your farm produce, the people at the other end of the river will now start to draw the rope, while the other people, when you empty it, they will now, the other side will now draw back the rope. So what the project did is to provide the bridge and make sure that these people communicate easily with the farm settlements around that area. So we now come to the 3rd phase of the project, where we included the agricultural marketing component of it. And the major focus of the agricultural marketing component there is to focus a reduction in terms of post-harvest losses, which just like what the DG in Jigawa mentioned, about 40% of our perishable goods, farm produce actually goes into waste as a result of post-harvest losses. Some majorly due to bad roads, majorly due to lack of storage facilities in the market. If you cannot sell your orange or mango, you can't transport it back to your village, you rather left it there to waste and part of the garbage. So what this project did is to select some major agricultural market of the state where the project is intervening. And we improve this market by providing the storage facilities. If you cannot sell your farm produce, there is a storage facilities, you can keep it for the next market day, as most of our markets are not daily market. So that is where this project play an important role in terms of reduction in post-harvest losses. We have also a case, I think, in Niger State, where you have to travel during the rainy season over 170 kilometers to reach their local government headquarters. What the project is to provide a three-span bridge and reduce the travel time to only 45 minutes by these communities. So this is what this project practically is doing. So you can see how much we assist farmers to make sure that they reach market. Project help them to reach processing centers, just like what the Honorable Minister said. That linkage, the ministry is promoting, pave way for the project to provide access to SAPZ processing centers. You can easily take in your goods for value addition. Instead of the farm produce to go into waste, you have where they can be preserved by adding value to those produce. And recently, the report, a grant was received by a French development agency, and they carried out by the consultant engaged by the same organization that provided the grant. We have a report where the French government is trying to support Nigeria in establishing tertiary market. This is where we can see modern packaging and processing of farm produce, and even possibly for export. And there are about 3 corridors that were recommended so far. We have Kano-Kaduna corridor. We also have Lagos-Ibadan corridor. Then there is Onitsha-Port Harcourt corridor. These are the 3 corridors that are going to be used as pilot for the establishment of this modern agricultural market. While the project RAM is focusing on secondary market, then we are now moving forward to see how we can support the establishment of tertiary market that can help this country equally and some export in terms of farm produce. So this is what the RAM is doing, and like I think I've made mention earlier that with all that development, 4,000 kilometers have already been awarded in the 19th state. So far, we have constructed and completed 1,500 kilometers, and the state governors are busy commissioning some of these roads that have been constructed under the project. And I also made mention about the market. About 39 of them are under construction currently, and these are all part of the achievement of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security under the able leadership of Honorable Minister. So we are now focusing to make sure that this project covers 36 states and FCT. As Nigeria being an agrarian country, that we know everything you plant in this country, there's an ecology that plants will grow. So RAM is there to make sure that we provide that necessary access and make sure that travel time has reduced, transport cost has reduced, maintenance of vehicles has equally reduced, and overall reduction in post-harvest losses.
If I may just return quickly to the Minister on 3 key issues. The first has to do with the targets that have been set, benchmarks that we can, tangible benchmarks that you can look at and say, within this space of time, what we had in the past, we have more than doubled or trebled or done better, or 1 or 2 things still need to be done. That's on one hand. The second has to do with sustainability. You touched on it briefly, sustainability and continuity. Yeah.
Well, let me just say it's a tough job, but we're up to it. Our population grows average of about 5-6 million net growth. That is births minus deaths. Is at least we have every year we grow about 5 to 6 million people. So every 3 years we give birth to a country like Senegal. Just think about that. And we're expected to be 400 million by 2050, according to the World Bank. So there is that rapid growth. So catching up with that and we can see from the time in 2023 when Mr. President was sworn in to now, it's been 3 years. So it means we have a net growth of about 18 million people just within the last 3 years. And you could remember in 2023, there was so much noise, there was so much loud noise about hunger. I'm not sure if I'm the one not hearing very well, but I don't hear that anymore. And that is efforts of this administration, Mr. President's leadership, and all the ministers, all the MDAs that are particularly working to make sure, whether it's Federal Ministry of Finance, Water Resources, Budget and Economic Planning, Agriculture and Food Security, Health, in trying to make sure that we have a healthy and sustainable population. And we also have an agency which is called the Nigerian Agricultural Extension Research Liaison Services, NILS, which we are in collaboration with the Ahmadu Bello University, who always every year, right around November, give us the yearly report. And they have an extension service that they give us the report of our harvest. Last year, we also mandated them, because we are encouraging both dry and wet season, all year round farming, that we should have it twice a year, so that we can now factor in, we know what we have done during the dry season, and we know what we do during the wet season. Now in 2024, the first time we received the report was higher than any 3 years in the past. Then last year was marginally higher than that of 2024. So which means we are, catching up with that population growth that I'm talking about. So these are, milestones that we see and we target, and we know how we're doing. Of course, demands continue to rise, but production also rises at the same time.
If I might just ask this, we understand that you will be leaving us shortly, but if I might just ask this, what's standing in the way? You say it's a tough job.
Yeah.
What's standing in the way? What are those challenges, and what's going on in surmounting them?
Okay, climate change, irregular pattern of rainfall, droughts, floods, and these are all symptoms and consequences of climate change, which is the big monster out there. So, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's just to adapt to it. Learn how the pattern is now changing, even though you may predict that this, we have tools and we have agencies, NIMET, NISAN, that we work together, and they advise us, and we in turn advise our farmers that this is time for planting and this time not to plant, because of sometimes you could be deceived by the early rains, and then sometimes, when it ceases, then you have a lull in that, and then droughts, like it happened in 2024 around Taraba, Adamawa, some parts of Kwara, and even as south as Ogun State, where farmers lost a lot of their crops due to that drought of about 6 weeks, in some cases. So we're working with a lot of these agencies and try to see how we can impact on them. Then the second item is, like I said, population, because there's human habitation onto farmlands. And also, of course, that also creates, I keep saying, we have a shrinking land space. Why for agricultural land? Why do I say that? We have grazing, open grazing, which is another factor. We have population habitation, desertification, coastal erosion. So these are consequences that we find ourselves in. Access to even land, but for wonderful work that our armed forces are making. So far we have seen places where a lot of land was secured for our farmers to
not to forget the matter of insecurity as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right. Yeah, so these are the challenges that we're looking at. And then fertilizer, for instance. Sometimes, like last year, we had an incident of rising prices of fertilizer. And it became a source of concern to Mr. President. And what we're trying to do now is trying to see how we can balance the welfare of the citizenry and also welfare of the farmers, who are also citizens. But input prices, there are steps and mechanisms that we're taking. I'm sure FEPSA will know, will give us exactly what they're doing in that regard. And like he said, all items that we needed for fertilizer for this wet season this year has been provided for. I was made to understand that is there. And pricing, like the National Agricultural Development Fund just launched their Farm Input Support Program, of which I was in Katsina just on Saturday to launch that of the Northwest. And we'll soon be in Southeast and Southwest, because North Central had been done, Southwest had been done. We have Southeast, South, and Northeast, where we intend to support 120,000 farmers around the country. Each farmer will receive 4 bags of fertilizer free of charge. And then there's the other program by the Bank of Agriculture. I wish he was here, he would have expanded more elaborately on which is support services and then access, because now farmers have access to finance. And this is all by effort of Mr. President. For the first time in a very long while, money had been made available to impact on the smallholder farmer, who feed 80% of the food that we eat in Nigeria. And that's a huge effort by the smallholder farmers. So these are the challenges that I'm looking at.
All right, Minister, as you take leave of us, we'll take a short break, after which we'll bring you another of our reports, and the conversation will continue with the Director General of the Jigawa State Agricultural Transformation, Mr. Negedu, who's here with us, and of course, Mr. Bodinga, who's here with us. We'll continue, but Minister, I would like to thank you for being part of this discussion.
Thank you very much, Cyril. Happy to be here again. Right. Thank you.
So we'll take a short break, and then we'll take another of our reports. Stay with us. We'll be right.
Global agricultural investments have played a significant role in the growth and expansion of agricultural businesses. Plateau State is a major beneficiary of the global agricultural interventions due to its favorable climate and comparative advantage in some crops and vegetables. The impact can be seen across productivity, processing, marketing infrastructure, and technology adoption. The global agricultural investment has also introduced modern farming technology and improved seedlings, fertilizers, irrigation systems, and mechanized equipment.
Some of the programs and then the structure that Plateau State has put for agri-style is meeting the immediate needs of the environment to enhance climate change or mitigate against some of the climate change issues that we have. The potato value chain has helped us, potato value chain support program has helped us to structure potato production and processing and all of the whole value chain issues.
One of such significant intervention channels is the Plateau State Potato Value Chain Project, funded by the African Development Bank.
There's a value addition and there's a great increase on the production of Plateau State as we're talking currently now. If you go to the farms, you will see there's a lot of change on the plateau.
The government went to Netherlands and imported some Irish potato seeds, which are very good seeds for us to really celebrate.
The training has enabled some to become leaders, so that in the rural communities, especially where we are, they have been able to form cooperative groups, and from there they're able to step down some trainings.
Plateau State is historically one of the country's major coffee-producing regions due to the state's high-altitude climate, which is suited for coffee production. The recent initiatives such as coffee festivals, farmer training programs, and a national coffee revival plan aim to increase production and help producers to meet international quality standards.
Coffee has given us access to international markets. So coffee has become a great commodity for us. And if we're able to educate people, it will become a good poverty eradication.
We're also supporting agriculture through improved seedlings and seeds that are distributed across the 17 local governments. We are also working on greenhouses.
However, to maximize the benefits of global agricultural investments, there is need to strengthen policies that promote partnerships between investors and local farmers, as well as focusing on building an export-oriented agribusiness.
Agribusiness remains a critical sector in Nigeria's economy, contributing significantly to food security, employment generation, and economic growth. In Ondo State, efforts to build a sustainable agricultural ecosystem have led to strategic partnerships with major global intervention agencies aimed at supporting smallholder farmers, particularly youth and women. The initiatives are designed to enhance productivity and position the state's agricultural sector to meet international standards.
The impact in Ondo State with the cooperation of the government of Ondo State with all these international donor-funded projects in Ondo State have been recording tremendous progress. About 4,000 plus households, farmers, youths in agriculture and the rest had been empowered.
They didn't just live there, they were actually paid stipend during that program, and they were given a starter pack, which we encourage them to also establish their own work, their own farm business, which will improve food security in the state.
Interventions by development partners, including the FAO, IFAD through the Live ND project, USAID, the World Bank, and the European Union have positively impacted the agricultural landscape in Ondo State. A major aspect of the interventions is the training of farmers in modern agricultural practices, commercialization, climate-smart agriculture, and the adoption of disease-resistant crop varieties to improve productivity and resilience.
We deal with integrated development of integrated landscape in the area of making sure that the land is accessible, holistically is accessible to women, men, and youth.
Despite the gains recorded, stakeholders say the agricultural sector in the state still faces a number of challenges. However, the state government and development partners remain optimistic that sustained collaboration and strategic interventions will address the existing gaps. Stakeholders identify insecurity as one of the major threats to agricultural development in Nigeria, noting that it undermines the impact of global agricultural interventions.
Right, those last two reports were from Plateau and Ondo states. Well, we're back here now, and this segment is where you get to join in the conversation. The numbers to call will be on your screens. You can call in with your questions or comments on the issues at stake. We encourage you to keep such comments straight to the point and to be brief so that others can also get on the platforms. And one way to know if your call has been passed through to the studio is you'll see your name appear on screen. When that happens, it means you're through and you can just go ahead. And we encourage you not to bother too much about greetings, just a simple hello, and that would do. So let's go back to the Director General of the Jigawa Agricultural Transformation, who is in Dutse, Dr. Saifullahi Umar. I believe you're still there with us.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, thank you so much for being there. Let's talk about specific targets, women and youth participation in agribusiness with regard to land access and financing from the Jigawa end.
Okay, thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to also share what we're doing as a state to, help Nigeria achieve food security. So, For Jigawa, as part of the policy objectives, job creation is one, and the target is to address the youth population, which constitute about 49% of the state population. We have a very young populations between the ages of 15 to 35, constituting close to 49% of our population. So it's a very young full population in the state. So part of the initiative is how do we address the barriers to youth participation in agriculture. One of such is access to critical resources such as the land, the resources inputs. So one of the pilot program we implemented is what we call Rise Millionaire Projects. The Rise Millionaire Project is a project intended to achieve two critical goals. One is to, create young millionaires, to show to youths that you can become a millionaire by merely producing rice. And through that program, the Jigawa State government provided land to the pilot phase, to the proof of concept, provided land to over 1,100 youths across the state with the land, drilling of well, as well as a solar water farm, all the inputs needed to produce rice. And they were also linked to extension agents and provided with foundation seed, whereby they produced the rice foundation seed. Under that program, we produced about 4,400 metric tons of rice, certified rice seed from foundation seed. And they were also granted access to these all resources almost on loan basis, but the loan is non-interest loan. Subsequently, this program was also rolled out across other value chains, including wheat, maize, and millet as well, to support youths in agriculture. So another initiative also we implemented through another program whereby we facilitated access to critical productive resources such as the solar water pump, hatcheries for women, goats, for women to produce, as well as the some processing equipment, processing machines to add value to agricultural produce that are where the major things produced in the state. Through that initiatives in partnership with the Padama Resort Area 2 projects, we supported over 47,000 women and youths across hard-to-reach communities especially. And also, fundamentally, the state government recently has procured over 12,000 solar water pumps to targeting youths across the state in predominantly rice production clusters across the states. And these water pumps will be distributed to youths between the ages of 18 to 40 years of age, those who are productively active in irrigation clusters across the states. Similarly, recently the state government, in collaborations with our partners, sent about 81 youths to Ogun State, whereby they were trained in soilless farming, targeting principal commodities, whereby like the tomato and peppers. Naturally in Nigeria, these commodities usually there is market capture opportunity between the months of May and between the months of March to throughout the wet season. Right. So and as we speak, I think last State Executive Council approved establishment of 20 of such greenhouses whereby soilless soil technologies will be deployed to support youths. Right. In essence, what I want to emphasize is that Jigawa State has deliberate objective to support women and youths in agriculture. We're targeting to reach over 200,000 before 2030 that are actively engaged in agriculture, and also created over 5,000 agri-businesses for women and youths.
All right, we'll return to you shortly, but I do believe we have a first caller on the line. Collins calling in from Eula. So if you're there, go right ahead. Good evening.
Correct.
Collins from Eula, go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, yes.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Go on.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Cyril. My name is Collins. Okay, from Yola, Adamawa State. I remember there was like 2 years or 3 years ago, I once called when we talk about power generations in Nigeria, if you may recall, where we have that discussion some time ago. Without wasting of time, sir, I'm really happy that this issue of agriculture is coming up at this very particular time, and that I'm so impressed with the speaker from Jigawa State, how he's trying to come up with the youth to be part of agriculture. Now, it is true and it is okay to go back into agriculture, but I and my partners from India, there is a particular solutions we come up with during when the NISAL program is coming up. And because I watched what the person from AgriSal has talked about in JOST, because AgriSal, these are World Bank projects that are trying as much as possible to go back to regenerative agriculture, because the earth is sick because of the chemicals that has been applied, to the earth. Now we have a software that I believe that is going to draw the youth, Nigerian youth, into agriculture. And this very particular software, I will say it briefly, it has the capacity of using the Earth observation sensors to map out any particular size of land from 100 hectares to 250, carry out a rapid soil analysis of that very particular area, tell to the type of nutrient that is available in that very particular soil, where there are nutrient deficiency, is going to detect those places. Now, this very particular software will give you a pre-information of the status of your farm. And not only that, it's going to suggest to you the type of crop that's supposed to be planted in that very particular area without the use of any chemical or so. And not only that, when we come to the atmospheric problem concerning that very particular place, because of the data it collected, it can be able to tell you that, okay, this very particular farm is good for either rice or maize, but within so and so time, there's going to be flooding or there's going to be drought. Everything you will see it on your phone. Everything you can monitor it remotely on your phone. And why do we do that? To be able to attract the Nigerian youths into farming system. And not only that, even if there's going to be any disaster, the software can be able to tell you that, okay, this is the distance of your farm to the nearest bus station, or this is the distance of your farm to the nearest water body. Now, these are the things that I tried as much as possible to make sure that, okay, relevant agencies get to know that. Right. Yes, in Adamawa State, we tried with AgriSal. And not only that, even the numbers of the trees that are available, the software can tell you the number of the tree and their positions exactly in that area. Now, I'm appealing to the country. This is what some of us Nigerians have come up with virtually in all the state of India. They are using it. In fact, the Ministry of Agriculture in India have given our institution about $1.2 million to be able to improve rice farming, maize farming, and that. But in Nigeria, when you approach any agency or ministry, they will just look at you. This is a young boy who doesn't have any sense, or it does not tally with the interests of any other person.
Okay, all right, Collins. Well, you've just rolled out a number of initiatives which you say are right here available in Nigeria, and efforts you've made to put this across to relevant authorities and agencies. We'll hear from our guests who are still in the studio if there is a thinking towards those lines and how they're expanding the scope of partnerships even within and not just only from outside the country. Perhaps you'd like to comment on that, Ram Gordon.
Yeah, actually, this doesn't fall under the purview of rural access and agricultural marketing project. But what I strongly believe is that under the project, we welcome this kind of innovative approaches to simplify agricultural production and equally providing to change the lives of rural population.
Okay, so
for instance, I think for the first time in the history of this country, we have a software called Nigeria Rural Transport Information Management System. We call it NATIMS, that's the acronym, and where we are taking the inventory of all the rural roads in the country, including the types of the roads, the nature of the roads, and equally all other features surrounding it, with a view to have a consolidated data that we can approach International Development Association to support us.
So these are all innovations that are coming up and readily available within that. Let's go back to the phones. We have a call from Enugu. Namdi calling in from Enugu. Hello. Hello, go ahead, Namdi. Namdi from Enugu, are you there?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Nnadi James Ifeanyi, calling from Enugu State.
Yes, go on.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Nnadi James Ifeanyi, Jugu from Enugu. I'm an agricultural from Enugu.
Yes, go on, go on.
Yes. Yes. And
well, that call's dropped. I may like to call back later on. Let me just reiterate this, that one way to know your call is through, once your name appears on screen, it means your call has been passed through to the studio. So just go right ahead with your question or comment. Let's come to Gideon Nagedu, now the Executive Secretary of the Fertilizer Producers Association. Now, we've had all kinds of initiatives that are coming up, all driving towards better yield and better production. And you have also spoken about specific fertilizers. We'll like you to expand on that in light of what our last caller, Collins from Yola, talked about. But let's take this call first, and then we'll return to you. Umar Anachi, calling in from Burning Kebi, as usual. Umar, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Siro. The discussion there, I'm greeting them. The investment in agriculture is very important aspect, but I'm worried with the relationship of these developmental investment partners and our GMO, particularly genetically modified organism. What is the relationship with these partners with the GMO? That is my first question. My second question is the cost of fertilizer is very high to the extent that you purchase, you sell 3 to 4 bags in order to buy 1 bag of fertilizer. What the government is doing to see that this cost of fertilizer is crushed to the extent that our farmers can afford to buy fertilizer with their own money. Then my last question is the use of satellite. Whether Nigerians are able to use any satellite in the world to agriculture, particularly when it comes to data management and data analysis. May God continue to bless our account.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Umar, for calling in. Let's cede the floor to Gideon Negedu, particularly especially in the matter of fertilizer and the costs. Yeah.
Okay, so drawing from the last question that we got on the prices of fertilizers, is a very touchy subject, but it's important that members of the public understand that government has a multiple approach to addressing the matter of affordability of fertilizers, access to fertilizers. We are particularly in the area of access, making sure that anywhere where we can access good quality raw materials at discounted prices, we're able to get that, bring that into the country, and ensure that we use local available resources as well to be able, local raw materials, to be able to get best sourced NPK for farmers. Now, these are commercially priced products, so they are not necessarily subsidized. Now, I'm aware, and the minister has made reference to that, that there are other intervention programs that government has that tries to ensure that the most vulnerable amongst us, they help them to get access to fertilizers. But we work to ensure that, because before now, what you had was a situation where we were dependent on a generic one straight line fertilizer. And that wasn't good for us as a country. Globally, and as a continent, it was also a problem because we depended on our partners from elsewhere to give us those generic blends. But today, Nigeria has had a revolution in making sure that we are intentional about what our farmers will take. However, we do acknowledge that there is that concern amongst the most vulnerable amongst us in trying to make sure that they access fertilizer. So we continue to do what we can as the space to ensure that we are getting products at the best quality price globally that's available. But in terms of the last mile pricing and all that, that we will refer them to what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing, and there are a number of intervention programs at the federal and the subnational levels, which government is trying to ensure that farmers will take access to.
Okay, let's hear from Dr. Umar in Dutse of how they're addressing this matter.
Okay, thank you very much once again. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. So for us, the issue of fertilizer is a serious issue because it contributes between 30 to 35 of the input production cost, and generally, if you take it has a huge burden on farmers. So what we're doing, we're exploring other alternatives, sources of fertilizer beyond the synthetic fertilizers that are readily available in the market. So recently, we received about 4 products, which are organic fertilizers, exploring the windows of organic fertilizers to see, because of emerging technologies from around the world that are reducing the volume of the synthetic fertilizers being used. So we have succeeded through the pledging partnership of our sister institution, the Jigawa Research Institute, whereby we evaluated very noble products. And after that is the on-stations and on-farm trials concluded to establish that they are near substitute to the conventional synthetic fertilizers, and they are cheaper in terms of the cost elements, significantly reducing cost of fertilizers by nearly 50% of the conventional fertilizers. As such, apart from that, also we are also approaching the reductions of use of the chemical fertilizers by encouraging climate smart agricultural practices, integrations of crop residues and other plant materials back into the soil to further enrich the soils. And in addition, also, we are capacitating our farmers to see how we work through one of the pledging partnerships of the major fertilizers blends in Africa to where we train over 20,000 farmers to identify the potential crop deficiencies and what commodities to be prioritized. And that is in line with the crop-specific and soil-specific fertilizers advocacies that has been long to reduce wastage among farmers. And we're also implementing the Jigawa soil map. The idea of the Jigawa soil map is to ensure that every production cluster is properly mapped, and soil and nutrient requirements identified and profiled. And that guide will guide, of course, blenders and other actors to be more precise in deciding what commodity to promote among the farmers. So this is how we are approaching the questions of fertilizers, and particularly in Jigawa State at subnational level. Maybe I will also wish to comment on the last caller, one of the callers that was talking about incentivizing youth engagement in agriculture using digital solutions. I'm happy to note that the technology he was referring is called ISDA, and Jigawa State has a very long time commenced trial of that technology to see workability in Jigawa State. When we went to the African Food Systems Summit in Kigali in 2024, whereby we met the promoters of that technology. So the technology is not absent, it's still in Jigawa. In addition to that, we are also piloting agricultural drone trainings for our farmers to increase efficiency in using in production, so that because youths are tech savvy and they want to do any other things that is tech savvy. And as such, drone technology is one, and also we are deploying smart irrigation systems, whereby we also deployed climate smart solar-based irrigation. So we have various models, from the 2-hectare model, the 10-hectare models, where we engage a substantial number of youths to produce notably vegetable crops across the state. So these technologies have been advanced, I'm sure, by not only Jigawa, but many other states across Nigeria, and including the federal government's multiple layer of program supports creating windows for youth to be engaged in agriculture using their own psychology and interest in tech-savvy solutions for productions and marketing. Thank you.
Right. Let's take it to RAMP now. Well, with all your projects, everyone talks about smart agriculture and going digital. In your construction, especially with the matter of climate change and all that, in your construction of rural roads and design and maintenance, how much of consideration do you give to project designs that are climate resilient and easy to maintain?
Thank you very much, Cyril. Actually, the project is taken into consideration, and I think the project we are implementing now and the new project we are promoting, when you look at the component of the project, they are clearly defined climate resilient rural roads, taking into consideration the change in climate and equally the flooding experience last year and previous years in the country. So we felt we need to improve the quality of the design to ensure that the roads we are building are roads that are going to last up to the design. So with regards to that, the roads RAM is constructed as climate resilient roads, and we equally bring in innovations into the construction to make sure that we align the project with recent development in terms of technology. We have a software we call construction site monitoring software. This enables executives, even at the comfort of their office, to supervise the ongoing construction to make sure that Nigerians have value for money in terms of the road construction. So, and it's also another way of reducing the vulnerability of people to project site in terms of, if you're afraid of going to the site because of insecurity or something like that, you can sit at the comfort of your office using the construction site monitoring software software to equally look at what is happening. So RAM is actually aligning with the innovations and equally making sure that the roads are climate resilient road. And the one major thing we include that I think I've mentioned it, and possibly I'll repeat it now, has to do with the routine maintenance. We realize that constructing road is not good enough until you put in maintenance mechanism in place. As such, we started by the communities living across the road corridors. We organized them into a community association. We got them registered. We provide them with tricycle, we provide them triangle, and all other road construction materials. We have certain amount of money as a token, we are paying them. We make sure that at least 30% of this group are women and vulnerable people that will constitute part of the team. We are telling these people that these are your roads, you need to protect them. And if there is any major problem with any of these roads, these people have access to our staff in every state. They can easily communicate to them that there is a problem and they can easily rush in to address that particular challenge. While the silting of culverts, cutting grasses, and all other patching of potholes can be done by this community maintenance gang. We train them, we provide employment for them, and we equally maintain our roads simultaneously. And this is something we piloted under RAM2, but it's in full-fledged now. Okay. We are working with International Labour Organization to have some international touch in what we are doing to improve the quality of routine maintenance under the project. So sustainability issue has been fully addressed under this project in terms of making sure that these roads last to the design life.
If I might just ask this, are there opportunities for additional funding?
Yes, like I've said earlier, we, because of the confidence the international partners have on the project, initially we have only two partners, that is World Bank and French Development Agency. I'm happy to inform Nigerians now that Islamic Development Bank has come in to support the project. We also have European Investment Bank also coming in to support the project. And the door is still open, and the Honorable Minister is making consultation with other donors to see how we expand the scope of this project to cover the entire country, because we have over 200,000 kilometers of rural roads, out of which about 70 to 80% are in bad and poor condition. And the only major intervention that can help this country to address this challenge is RAM, providing this access and making sure that we increase productivity. We equally shelf life of some of this product by value addition by making sure that farmers reach market, children reach school in time, and equally communities reach opportunities before them, of which some of them were isolated. So this is the project that is making sure that all these are achieved under the Renewed Hope agenda of Mr. President.
Dr. Omar, let's go back to the matter of post-harvest losses. All of what you have told us today, beautiful, fantastic. Let's paint a scenario where production has increased. You have provided access to markets, from the farm gate to the markets. However, for one reason or the other, and this was what we mentioned earlier, there are still issues of affordability, strategies to market. What happens? Do you have in place something like a system of off-takers as to guarantee that when the farmers produce this much beyond what they used to, they are able to market, or there are strategies to buy off this excess from them?
Okay, thank you again. Access to market is really important because there is always, when farmers produce, there is surplus sometimes to be, off-taken by either mill processors or by off-takers. So in Jigawa, let me give you an example. Our rice milling capacity for about majorly the major mills is around 500,000 metric tons per annum. That is the milling capacity of the state, including the big ones like Dangote, where they have over 350 metric tons. So what we are structuring is that we have what we call commercial agricultural cluster program. That commercial agricultural cluster programs aggregate lands minimum of 50 hectares, where farmers are put together. And under that, they are supported to produce whatever crop of interest. In this case, let's take rice, for instance. These commercial clusters, produced together in terms of they receive training from the government through extensions. Sometimes they receive financing from the government or either financial institutions or any national program. And now the aggregators in this case are the millers who uptake excess paddy that comes from the farmers, which they have small-scale processing which we have extensively deployed in the state. So there is a relationship that is created between farmers and producers. We have many of these things. For instance, also in case of, we are the leading producer of hibiscus, and we have the Jigawa Expert Processing Zone. In Jigawa Expert Processing Zones, presently we have one of our pleasing private partner, the Contrax, that established a fumigation center. So apart from the local processing of hibiscus into zopos and other fodders and tea bags and rice, the excess produce is obtaken by like a private partner like Contrax, which is in migratory export processing zones. The migratory export processing zones is where private partners can have access to processing facilities, roads, security, and also be able to trade internationally. From there, there is custom, there is migrations, and in those facilities are provided by the Jigawa state government. So these are some of the ways we address excess surplus to farmers by creating structured access to structured market through the aggregators. And we have many of them in the Jigawa state, like example of the contracts for system, all work out for hibiscus, the Dangotes for rice, and many others actors across the state. Apart from that, also, we have recently, over a year, we have recently signed a partnership for agri-business innovation program, whereby producers will create, farmers will, small-scale community-based livelihood centers would be created to support small-scale processing, and the process will be aggregated into what we call the Jigawa Mart. The Jigawa Mart would be a marketing hub, which this is a model we learned from plating partners in India, where the big farmer cooperatives like the Amul Dairy and the Sangam Dairy models, which we try to replicate, and in this case in other crops, not necessarily in dairy commodities. So we anticipated this kind of situations to create an enabling environment whereby farmers can have their products, reach, markets, and both local and domestic markets with the same quality as international brands. And that brand process is also ongoing. This is in addition to existing structured market partnerships that the state facilitated and created for farmers to ensure that there is no market, because post-harvest losses happens because of many reasons. Of course, lack of processing, drying infrastructures, primary processing infrastructures, storage infrastructures, and the processing infrastructures. This also contributes to some form of post-harvest losses. And by some of the strategic investment, we're addressing that. But beyond this, we need to reach the market. And that reaching market entails, market usually requires quality products which are going to be acceptable to the buyers. And that is achieved through pledging partnerships with the private sector, which is anticipated to drive the needed growth and sustainability we desire to ensure that there is sustainable access to market by our farmers.
All right. We did put this question to the minister before he left, that of ensuring sustainability and policy continuity and consistency, and of course ensuring that all those who benefiting from these schemes take ownership of them. Sure, you have a model for that in Jigawa.
Yes, yes, because for us sustainability is one of the pillar, and that sustainability model is been created through private sector model, whereby government is enabler and the private sector is a driver of the agricultural transformations. And that is why we usually, our model is very simple. Government provide critical resources for either production to happen by providing access to land and facilitating, access to the land through providing rural access roads or palm access roads. As we speak, as I said, Jigawa State has constructed over 1,500 kilometers of tarred roads and over 500 kilometers of rural access road out of these, 1,500 kilometers of roads. And similarly, we are also providing some critical resources, like in the case of the mentioned the Mega-3 export processing zones, whereby you find a plug and play model for investors to come in and set up processing facilities. There is electricity. We also have a program of the special agro-processing zones, where we have in Gagarawa, agro-industrial hub site, where the government has provided roads, electricity, and also the Jigawa State government is massively investing in renewable energy. Recently, we have 100 megawatt of electricity assembly plant established in the state, and a number of over 10 mini off-grids solar energy have been provided across the state. These are both to support agro-processing and also irrigation, most importantly irrigation, because irrigation is primary, irrigation cost of water is a very fundamental to overall all year round productions. And we strongly believe that we cannot achieve food security or our targets of supporting Nigeria substantially without the all year round productions. And we are also massively investing in irrigation through the solar, beyond the conventional small solar water pumps, as well as solar mini grids for irrigations across the state. And that also is to enable sustainability, and this is linked to what the farmers will get, or what the other balancing actors like the processors, aggregators will be able to get. And we are also, like, our investment in digital agriculture is whereby the Jigawa State has a Jigawa Farmer Information System, digital farmer registry, and e-voter system for farmer input distributions, and as well as the farmer cooperative management system. Through these platforms, the private sector would be allowed to access reliable and verified farmer data, and that also will, de-risk investment in agriculture. And those kind of de-risking models are intended to drive the needed sustainable framework for the sectors.
All right. Well, we're about winding down now, so let's come to the Executive Secretary of the Fertilizer Producers, Gideon Negedu, as we prepare to round off. You talked about private investments who are encouraged because of the innovative processes that the state has put in place. Speaking, when I say the state, the government itself. Access to fertilizer, and so the shortfall within the next 3-4 seasons. What's your association looking at in providing more and producing more that can go around?
Well, we are poised. Today we started the PFI sometime in 2016 with about 2 blending plants. Under President Tinubu, we have moved from 89 to about 120 blending plants, fertilizer blending plants today. And it's important to note that these blending plants are the ones that source financing and buy off the government-approved entity that facilitates this. Like the minister alluded to, there is a liberalization policy from the president that he has signed that enables multiple stakeholders or players to be able to bring in the product so that the farmer benefits from healthy competition. And so it's only going to get better for the Nigerian farmer. But just let me speak as a private sector person quietly. There's a lot of government in the conversation. And our plea to government is we need to be very intentional about our, the policy space in terms of importation of finished food products. It's a big concern for us. Very laudable supply infrastructure government has encouraged to be put in place at almost zero expense to government, because government's business is to encourage the enabling environment for us to bring in our money to invest.
Yes.
We are the best poster boys for government, because if it's not working, I won't bring my hard-earned money to invest here.
Right.
Our appeal to government is there's a need to consider that the Nigerian farmer can feed this country, and we need to be intentional to manage imports of finished staples into the country. Production cost can be managed by everything we have heard on this table, but that will be only sustained if the market environment continues to be encouraged. Just to finalize, yesterday we were with the MD of BOA, and it's very encouraging to know that in a long time, Nigeria, the federal government is implementing what is called the guaranteed minimum pricing scheme. Right. So farmers will always be encouraged that whatever the cost is, government will always be there to buy off from you. So we need these policies in place to continue to encourage the ecosystem to continue to supply and to meet those shortfalls as you have alluded to.
Okay, quick final word for you in just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I just want to buttress further on what the Honorable Minister has said in terms of the ministry's efforts in making sure that we provide access to community disabilities in the rural area. So this is an initiative we'll continue to push and make sure that we cover the entire country with this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so very much, and time to say thanks to our guests here. Aminu Bodinga, National Coordinator, Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, RAMP. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Gideon Negedu, Executive Secretary, FESPAN. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And of course, Dr. Saifulahi Umar, Director General, Jigawa Agricultural Transformation, who joined us via Zoom from Dutse. Thank you so much for your contributions tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much, sir, and good night.
Right. Okay, and that's our program today. Well, thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.